All right, let's light this candle. So, this is an artist exclusive interview with Twin Tribes brought to you by Latin Alt Radio 88.5 HD3. We are a bilingual public radio station based in Southern California, and I am so happy to have our special guests here with us today. This is Twin Tribes. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, thank you for having us. I'm Luis Navarro. I sing, play guitar.
And I'm Joel, and I play bass and play a little bit of keys and backing vocals.
Very nice. So I'm just gonna ask you guys a series of questions, which may or may not, kind of cause you to rack your brain a little bit. I don't want to be too cliche with my questions. So first I'll ask
Perfect.
you guys, how do you consume music?
How do I consume music? I mean, on a daily basis, I have always listening to a release radar constantly. I like to listen to everything that's coming, all the new stuff. So usually, in the mornings while doing chores, uh, sometimes something for relaxing. At night, I have some, split playlists for that. But I don't know, it's just kind of like a constant thing throughout the day.
Yeah, and for me, I don't have Spotify, so I kind of like use like the YouTube Music or YouTube. Um, Aside from that, though, like I have records, I have cassettes. I don't, I don't have the time a lot to kind of like sit down and listen to a record from beginning to end nowadays. But when I do find that rare occasion, I really do try to do that.
The vinyl guys, they're gonna come for you for that one.
They are.
Uh,
But yeah, I love that. Very down to earth. You stream like the rest of us, but you still like your physical, tangible copies of music. Um, Follow-up question for a little bit of background info for some of our listeners who may or may not be familiar with you. Can you tell us a little bit about where you come from geographically, culturally, and spiritually?
so we're based off of Brownsville, Texas, which is the southernmost part of the state, the country, I guess. And it's a border town, so the majority of the population is Hispanic, Latino. They speak Spanish and English. Um, uh, yeah, that's kind of home. Joel, you want to add something to that?
No, I mean that's pretty much it, right? As far as like culturally, from being young, you're uh, listening to both English and Spanish speaking, English and Spanish music. Luis is from Mexico, right? Luis is Mexican, and so I'm Mexican American. My mom's, from Mexico as well. So as far as culture goes, that's definitely ingrained into us. It's a part of our DNA, basically. So, being on the border and being so close to Mexico, having family over there, like, it's something that's very near and dear to us, our culture. So, it's one of those things that we're actually kind of happy that we're gonna finally get to tour in Mexico and get to tour in South America and all these countries with Latinos in them who have always like supported us since the beginning.
Yeah, that's really wonderful and exciting. Where are you most excited to play?
That's tough because they're all new, right? They're all new cities for us. But Sao Paulo in Brazil is already sold out and is probably going to be one of the craziest shows. So really excited about that.
Yeah, Mexico City too is one of those that we hear so much about. Since we began. It's we always hear Mexico City has such a strong scene, and they have a huge appetite for the type of music that we've played for goth, for dark wave, and all that cool stuff. So that's also one of those that we're like super ecstatic to go to.
I love that. I'm so excited for you. Um,
Thank you.
so kind of going into your musical influences, who are your idols and what would you say to them if you've met them?
I think we have quite a few, um, but one of my biggest idols is Gustavo Cerati, and he is the or was the singer, guitar player for the Argentinian rock band Soda Stereo. So huge influence in my guitar tone and huge influence in image and just a huge inspiration overall, which is why another reason why I'm so excited about playing Buenos Aires. And I'm not sure, you said, what would we say to them?
Yeah.
Oh man, oh God, I probably wouldn't know what to say, right? Because I generally, or both of us are really shy, with people that are famous and things like that. Like this, we were playing at a festival and we were just surrounded by uh, Multidoma, Gary Newman, and all these people, and I was just like, man, I was just so shy. We were so shy. We didn't even get a picture. But I would probably just ask, what are your influences? What is it that made you want to, become this idol and, you know, probably write a book report about it and stuff. But
Full 10-page essay. Um, yeah, I mean, my idols. I mean, you can see them, I guess, like right here in this part of the screen of my PowerPoint presentation. But I got
Mhm.
David Bowie up on my wall. But right next to him, our contemporaries. Right, she passed away. They also influenced us when we first started, and we've had the privilege of being able to tour with them, and they've been so gracious. So that's one of those things, like, you meet the people that inspire you and that you idolize, and that one, kind of turned out fantastic because they're magnificent people that we were able to learn so much from. And I guess just on that, your question, what would you say, is like Luis said, we're shy. So I wouldn't say much. I would just kind of like sit back and take it in and see how they perform their art and what they do, and just I would probably just learn a lot and just kind of enjoy that moment.
Yeah, that's really really beautiful. And I totally get it. I talk with a lot of musicians. You guys are just shy, actually. You can put on one hell of a show, but like
Yeah, yeah. Once the makeup's on, it's not us anymore, right? It's like a
yeah.
little bit of what do you call it, a
A
reflection of us.
persona.
There you go.
yeah.
So, have you always felt inclined towards music as your mode of self-expression?
I think when I discovered rock music, and it was like through one of my all-time favorite bands, Kiss. So my dad got me into Kiss, and I would watch this VHS tape over and over and over, shows from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and that's what really got me into music. And once I discovered, well, that got me to wanting to learn how to play the guitar. And once I kind of got the hang of it, that just became my tool, my form of artistic expression, I guess. But on the side, I guess I always like drawing and art and painting. I was never great at it, but yeah, I inclined towards music once I discovered rock, basically.
Yeah, and as younger, I kind of got into band like when I was in middle school. So when I was in sixth grade, all the way up to like my first year of college, I was in symphonic band and jazz band. So I got a little bit of the taste for and the bug for music, right? Because you can get into band, and if you don't like it, well, that's it for you. But yeah, it definitely was something um, that changed my life. I would say, right? It changed my life. kind of knew from then and there is like this is what I want to do, like whether it's become a music director or just be something in music is, and that's kind of like the path that I laid out for myself, and figured that's where I'm going to be most successful at, and that's where my passion lies. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really awesome. First of all, I think it's so funny that you guys bring up all of these other artists that you wouldn't really imagine are your influences. Like I'm sure a lot of people have compared your work to The Cure or maybe even Sisters of Mercy, for example. Um, which, you can definitely hear that correlation, but I find that jazz being one of your sort of background influences is really fascinating because I feel that your music is very punk adjacent. It is more in that goth dark wave kind of scene, but the jazz artists, they were the original punk rockers. So I just find that connection amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's one of the things that I think both me and Luis are really kind of aware of, is that we try not to like pigeonhole ourselves to like, okay, if we're gonna make this music, we've got to listen to goth and we've got to listen to, just this genre. Our palette is just really wide. We can listen. We're on the road and we're listening to all sorts of stuff. Of course, we'll listen to The Cure and Depeche Mode and all that good stuff that we love. But at the same time, yeah, Luis, he'll put on some Kiss, or I'll put on some country sometimes, just to like break it up a little bit, because you may not like a genre, but everything has something to offer, and there's always a little bit of tidbit that you can get, a little bit of information, or a note, or just a way that somebody composed a song that will inspire you to do something within your genre, right? So we like to keep our minds open to that kind of thing.
Yeah, I
Totally.
totally love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like Joel said, like we find inspiration in all sorts of genres, and you can see it, you can listen to it in a bass line specifically. You can listen to a guitar riff that sounds maybe like you know funk inspired, and a rhythm guitar like that, like a new wave guitar is very very funk inspired as well. So it's very very interesting to me when you can pinpoint these I guess, references or influences.
Yeah, I love that. I am also very varied in my music tastes. So I really think that's the perfect recipe for a well-seasoned musician, if you ask me. I also think it's interesting that you say that country music inspires you. What artists in particular, if any?
Um, Sure, yeah. I mean, I tend to listen a lot more to the older kind of country artists. So I'll listen to like, the Highwaymen or Willie Nelson, are two of the ones that I kind of like gravitate towards. Hank Williams Jr. It really, depends on the mood. There is just like anything else. Everybody always thinks, well, there's just one country, green tractor, John Deere kind of thing. But there's also country where like, hey, I'm gonna shoot you if you get in my way, and you're gonna take my woman, and kind of thing. So, I'm more in that outlaw country type of thing. I'm a big fan of Tombstone too. So anything cowboy adjacent, I'm all down for.
Yeah, I love that. Love that because I'm a big Johnny Cash girl myself. So I can hear those influences now in your work. I'm gonna listen to it totally differently now. So thank you for that. Um, so we're gonna kind of go into the creative process here. So how do you describe what you do?
How do we describe what we do? I mean, I think in the end, you know, we're some sort of entertainment, and I think that my interest in that comes from a little kid watching either wrestling, like Joe's a big wrestling fan, or watching sports, watching soccer, a big soccer fan, or football in Joel's case. And I think that music is just another branch of that. And I don't see ourselves that different from a wrestler, like an entertainment wise, right? So I guess that's one part of what we do.
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of what we do is art. But it is a performing art. So, um, we definitely do the hell out of the performing, I would say, right? So, um, um, when it comes to music for us, like it's all encompassing. So, we just do what we love to do as far as what we love to listen to. We're both in tune with that, with each other when we're creating. But we also are entertainers, as like Luis said, and like and in the highest form possible that we can take it, we're going to. So yeah.
What is your favorite piece of music that you've made so far?
Wow, that's so hard. Um, yeah, that's so hard. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and say Monolith, our first single off of our newest album, Pendulum, has been one of my favorites. I can't say my favorites, but seriously, it's like right up there. Um, it's totally unique from things that we've made in the past, and it shows growth and and people love to dance to it. It seems like people really like it.
Yeah, that's a great choice. You're asking to pick between, which kid are you gonna keep, right? Uh, I guess I'm gonna have to, like, yeah, do the same as Luis, kind of like commit to recent memory, kind of, because we have grown so much. I feel, and uh, I think the perfect song that kind of like me and Luis, to me anyways, that we kind of like, it was just like a synergy that happened with it. I think it was Cauldron of Thorns, if I remember correctly. I always forget because there's this one song that we were like kind of like building together. We'd go back and forth, and then we were in the studio, and then like something clicked, and it was like a eureka moment.
It
Is it
was.
Cauldron? It
Yeah.
was Cauldron. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I need to remember that. So Cauldron of Thorns is one of those where like we were next to each other, and like I can't remember the last time. I think the last time we had gotten that excited was when we were in the studio for the first time recording Shadows and kind of listening back to it. Yeah. So and like I just remember that so vividly when we were writing Pendulum. So and yeah, I think that's a culmination of everything that we've been through in these past, 6 years. Well, that's the whole album, all of Pendulum. That's what the culmination of what we've been through, what we've learned, and how we've grown. And I think that particular song just hits that note for me.
That's really beautiful. So, take me through your creative process. How do you guys work together?
We've worked in different ways, but it usually starts off with one of us creating an idea, like a bass line or a guitar riff or something very small, and then we'll just email it to each other, and then we'll start giving some notes, like, "Hey, this sounds really cool. Try this out," or "Let's try this out. Take this off. Take this on," and we'll just go back and forth, emailing sketches. We'll be emailing back and forth, and once that sketch reaches like a demo stage, I guess, then we'll start doing the same thing for lyrics. So we'll start going back and forth, back and forth. But while we're creating this, we are also collecting, words or phrases or writing down lyrics that came up, and just kind of like to have a vault of things to choose from. And but we've also made music like a traditional jam. We've written songs that came out like that. But yeah, I think that Pendulum was just going back and forth emailing, and then once you're at the studio, it's totally different because you have another producer that's, giving you their input, and then you have moments like Joel said where we're still kind of figuring out what are the best melodies or what are, the best phrases. So a lot of these things happen in the studio.
Yeah, that is true. And to add on to what Luis said, while we are going back and forth, it's not just necessarily just one song. Like sometimes, we'll like go back and forth, kind of like get somewhere with a song, and then we'll like pivot. Hey, let's go to somewhere else. You don't because you don't want to beat a dead horse sometimes, and kind of lose that inspiration. Sometimes it's good to like leave it there, and we'll come back to it. And I think we have a really good. Kind of like a internal thing where it's like, you know what, I think we're good, like let's move on somewhere else and then we'll come back to it.
Totally.
Or yeah, or if the inspiration is there and it strikes and we're just like nailing it and kind of going for it, we know like when to kind of back off and when to kind of like go full steam ahead.
Yeah. Amazing. Like I love hearing artists like describe their process and like how they collaborate with their other musicians and their groups. Like it's lovely to me.
Yeah.
Um, so kind of digging a little bit deeper, what are some of your more serious moral or philosophical convictions, and how do you feel that these ideas manifest in your work?
Yeesh, I'll have Joel, if you can take the lead on.
Yeah, you need some time. Need some time. Um, you know, well, I think part of what we do. This is just part of what the genre is, right? What quote unquote goth, let's just call it, is kind of finding the beauty in the darkness, right? So, I think morally, speaking for myself here, not knowing, if there is an afterlife, it's more on in my end like a question, right? Like, is there something there? And if it is, what is it? Is it going to be beautiful? Is it going to be horrible? What if there's not anything there? What if this is it? Right. And that's also like something that's, prevalent in me is like just this infatuation with time and how precious it is. So like I guess just in a moral or just like a just in a me kind of like feeling like that's what a lot, not a lot of our music, but several songs, especially I think in Ceremony, we really explored that kind of feeling of for of death and how to deal with it, how and some and kind of like bringing those feelings out and trying to work your way through it and accepting it and for what it is, right? Because without it, life truly isn't that beautiful, right? Because then you can't really appreciate that the very little time that we have on this earth. So I think that's something is prevalent in our music.
Well said, and like also to add a little bit onto that, it's kind of like the question that everybody's asking, and in the last album, uh, we did try to show the balance of light and dark, and not just musically, but the whole package aesthetically as well. So. Yeah, it was just not everything. We didn't want everything to just be dark. There's just a little bit of hope in the end.
That's really beautiful. I know I keep saying that, but like just beautiful words from you guys.
Thank you.
So, kind of moving more into the juicy stuff, what most of our listeners are dying to hear from you guys. What's the best and worst show you've ever played?
Wow, that's a great question. We've had uh, quite a few, but I think the the one that comes to mind right now um, would be, I guess, this year. Um, I mean, I'm not gonna say the venue, right? But I want to say it was probably somewhere in I don't know, Florida, maybe. You can say the best one, Joel.
Yeah, you're not gonna say why it was the worst one?
I mean, yeah, it was right. Maybe I'm tripping. I can't remember.
I don't know. I don't know. I won't blame the whole state of Florida for one of our bad shows, right? But I'm sure. Yeah, I think if there's been some rough ones. I mean, we've been on the road basically half of our existence as a band. So we've had many bad shows. We've had many good shows. So I'll go with the good show. Yeah, we played Pomona for our album release at the beginning of the year, and that was just an experience that I don't think is it's going to be hard to top, like because we've have been a part of these huge festivals with all these awesome bands, like Darker Waves or Cruel World. We've played Psycho Fest, like we've done those like these huge festivals, and awesome, they're amazing. But the difference between that and the Pomona show or album releases because it was it's specific to us. So that's why that feeling of all these people are here to see us, all these people are here to listen to the new album because no, it had just released the day before or 2 days before, right? Something like that, something crazy like that.
One day.
Yeah, and so all these people are here to see us, and the bands that we've put together. All of our friends are here because the lineup is our friends, and our families are here. So one of those things that you don't. It's like I said, feeling that is otherworldly just takes you to a different place.
And now I want to ask you guys kind of more about your origins. So, how did you market yourselves to get your music heard? Like, what were you telling people that got them to listen to your music? And how do you do that now?
We started doing that, I guess, right after our album came out, or actually right before our first album came out. And we were kind of marketing ourselves like if we were some sort of cult. That's how the inspiration of the band's name came to be. And it was kind of like for fans of post-punk, but not just that, because there was also a lot of influence from 80s films like The Dark Crystal, like Labyrinth. So we would make, videos attached to, certain scenes, things like that. And yeah, uh, things like that.
Yeah, and we would hit up DJs. They were crucial at the beginning and even now like they still spread the music, and whatever something's bumping at the club, of course it's a good DJ behind it, right? So that's what we would do when we were first starting. Like we even would open, like we'd just be like, "Hey, like, can we open for the DJ, right? Who have their own nights already and an established crowd, and who were kind enough to take us in and who liked the music." So I would say that's a huge thing. We where we were at, there wasn't much of a scene, so we would have to drive up like 4 hours to San Antonio to play in front of a good crowd. And I mean, there weren't huge crowds, but better than where what was happening where we were. So and that was because there were DJs up there playing our music, kind of building up a crowd. We had DJs from New York, who played our music, who had us fly out there for a festival. Sean, I'm gonna name drop him because he's awesome. Sean, had us go out there, and you know, again, that was a huge boost for us.
Yeah. So I love that you have that mindset, like finding established audiences and kind of not necessarily stealing fans, but definitely the kind of piggybacking approach. I think that has worked wonders for you guys. And I'm glad that it has because, you guys are playing festivals and you're quite successful now, I would say.
Yeah, thank you. And I think it's something that we're, we got extended that hand, but it's not like something that we took it and then it's just like kind of pulled ourselves up and above,
Mhm.
We do the same now. Like we'll pick out bands that we like, that are maybe not as well known, and we'll take them on tour with us. We'll have them play a big show with us. We'll share their music on one of our playlists just for that visibility. We are big fans of the scene, and we just want it to continue growing and to continue to prosper, and there's plenty of talent out there for us to kind of like pick out, which is it's a good thing.
Yeah, that's totally punk rock. Giving the same energy that you've received, just spreading the love. I love that. Um, so what would be your advice to these smaller artists who aren't getting maybe as much recognition as they should be? What kind of mindset do you think that they should be adopting for their own work?
I think like Joel said earlier, DJs are a huge, uh, it's a very important to be able to interact or network with DJs. They're constantly digging for new music everywhere. They're on Bandcamp, they're everywhere. So definitely getting to network with DJs is a really good idea to get your music as far as you can. In the beginning, we would just try to network with anyone on social media. We tried to look up specific goth groups in different cities, and yeah, just to kind of like start figuring out where can we play.
Yeah, and in our case, again, it's we've grinded for 6 years, right, Luis? 6, I think.
Yeah.
6 years of grinding to like kind of get to where we're at today. It's not to say that it's gonna take you that long. It could be that it won't. That's great, but just having the mentality that it's the long game, until it's not. Right? You're playing the long game until it's not. Before Twin Tribes, this hasn't just been 6 years. I was in other bands before that. This has been a journey that we've been on for many, many years. So, and we're just excited, and we're humble that we're here and able to do these things and able to travel and play our music. And so, in order to get that, just be ready to put in the work, be ready to go and tour, and to make sacrifices, because we've had to make several sacrifices over the years. To kind of like get to where we're at, and yeah, as long as the music and your art is your passion, then doesn't matter where you end up, as long as you're doing what you love to do.
What are those sacrifices?
Oof, man. I mean, right off the top of my head, you're gone. I mean, we were gone during Christmases when we had day jobs. Luis was a teacher, and he would go from teaching, and then when he had like a spring break or a Christmas off, like we're on the road, both of us. So we're all that time away from your family, friends. You miss out on events. You don't go to all those cool shows that you want to go to back home. So you do miss out on a lot. Yeah, that's just one thing off the top of my head.
Yeah, and those sacrifices, like we constantly have to make them even now. Even now it's like, well, I guess we're not gonna be home for Thanksgiving, right? I guess it's we're gonna have to be on the road or whatever. And like specifically right now, like our biggest sacrifice is we're not gonna be playing Fortnite because we're gonna be in South America. So that's gonna be super difficult.
Yeah. You know, for gamers like us, you miss out on those new seasons. And but yeah, yeah, well said.
So, what would you do differently about your earlier years?
Wow. Like Joel said, I mean we've been grinding like every time we had the chance, every 3-day weekend, let's go, let's try to book, 2-3 shows. But what would we do different? I mean, um can I tag you for a second for this one?
Tag in. Okay, yeah. Let's see. What would we do differently? I mean, there's really nothing that I can think of. It's so cliche to say, "Oh, I wouldn't change a thing," but it's true. Like the journey, kind of prepped us for where we're at right now, right? Like we had to make a lot of mistakes, um, in order for us to be in a position to do what we're doing right now and do it in a way that's successful and in a way that can that we can use music as a way of living. So we wouldn't have learned those lessons if we would have like known everything right away, kind of thing. So um it's part of that journey. It's part of the journey of learning, of falling, getting back up, trying it again, failing, but yeah, I wouldn't change anything.
Fair enough. So, scratching just a little bit further underneath the surface, I'll ask you what you do on the bad days, how you handle, when streams are down, or if there are less merch sales, or if there's a dry spell of creativity, shows gone bad. How do you handle these hurdles, and what kind of example do you want to set for other artists?
I think the the good thing is that Joel and I are pretty positive guys and upbeat, and Joel's a workaholic, and like yeah, we can have bad days, and yeah, we can feel like we're mentally blocked or creatively blocked or whatever, but we just take it day by day, and you know always with a positive mindset, like tomorrow we're gonna kill it, we're gonna do this, maybe this happened or we screwed up, but like Joel said, we've learned through a lot of these mistakes. So um, uh, I would just say that just having that positive mindset is what really helps.
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Short term memory too. Like it's one of those things you're gonna have a bad show. It's just part of it, and yeah, you just learn, do better. Hopefully, it gets better. And if it doesn't, well, then you gotta kind of reflect upon yourself and kind of figure out, well, why isn't it going better? Because there's always a common denominator, and you've got to kind of figure out what that is. I mean, again, it's all part of that journey, a part of finding who you are and who you are as a band and as an individual, in order for you to succeed.
Yeah, just rolling with the punches.
Exactly.
What do you think is the most useful lesson that you've learned throughout your time?
Oh, wow. I think the most useful lesson is to just be humble and not to be scared to say I don't know or no. Learning how to say no is also a huge one. that we struggled with, and I personally struggled with. Um, but these are all just things that we've learned on the way, and and we're still learning a bunch of stuff as we go.
Yeah, yeah. What Luis mentioned, learning how to say no. That was one of those things that we learned and we picked up from She Passed Away. I don't know if you remember, Luis, when we talked to Doruk and we're like, "Hey, man, like, what would you give us as advice?" Because obviously they've been in it far longer than we have, and they've been killing it for so long. Continue to do that today too, and that was the one thing that he's like, "Don't be afraid to say no." Right? And again, Luis mentioned like it's so hard for him. It's hard for me too. Even now, like it's hard for me to say no. Like I have to sometimes like, hey Luis, like what do you think? Like, and Luis is like, dude, no. Like I was like, okay, cool, cool. I was thinking that too, but I just need somebody else to kind of like, okay, here, Joel, no, let's go this way, kind of thing. So yeah, that's it's such a simple thing, but definitely a powerful one.
Yeah, I like that you guys operate as a democracy there. What's the hardest no you've ever had to give someone? I'm just
Oh,
hitting you with the questions.
I think we've had to say no to some shows. We've had to say no to some tours. We've had to say no to some festivals at some point because of now scheduling conflicts and stuff. So that's just what I can think of. I can't think of anything specific. I don't even have anything in mind, Joel.
Oh no, that's right. You're right on the money. Saying no to like to touring and stuff like that. But it's like, Luis mentioned, I'm a workaholic, right? I'll probably grind until my bones are mush, right? But uh, yeah, like those are some of those things that, hey, like we need to stop. Like we need to stop. We need to write. We need to write new music. We need to stop. We need to spend time with our families. These are all important, things too, and so having to say no, especially to something that could be very beneficial, or let's just say like whether it's like playing with a big band, or just being able to sell a lot of merch for certain shows or whatever. um again, saying no to that kind of thing, but also seeing the positive in it, um on the other side, is something that we're still learning to do, and we're getting there, we're getting to a good point.
So, kind of veering into the wrap up of the interview, I'll ask you some more thoughtful questions. If you weren't musicians, what do you think you would be doing?
I think that if I wasn't a musician, well, when I was a kid, I wanted to be three things. I wanted to be a musician or a rock star back then, a soccer player, or a wrestler. So I don't know. I'll probably be doing some indie wrestling shows. Who knows?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, honestly, same. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a wrestler, professional wrestler. Uh, so this wouldn't have worked out. I'd be taking some bumps out there, like on in a wrestling ring, and yeah, wrestling was always a big passion of mine. Surprisingly, chef was also one of those. Like, I did it for a little while when we had time, because this year has been crazy. But when I was cooking, I was enjoying it. Like, took my mind off of stuff, because you're like cooking and you're like trying to get everything just right with your ingredients and your timing. And it's such a beautiful thing, man. And then you can master that kind of art. My goodness, it's really, really fascinating and really cool.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I think we really underestimate how much food can be an art form as well. I mean, that's a little more conscious to the general public now because cough cough the bear, if you've watched it.
Ah,
But I'm
yeah,
guilty of it. I love the show.
I got to see a little bit of it, and I was very intrigued. I'm telling you, like it was just like this scene of them in the back, like going through one of their nights, and I was like, my gosh, like the pressure, and like it was so cool. They did it well. I need to go back and watch it, but for sure, yeah, I'm a big fan of Gordon Ramsay too. So like, something like that, it's like right up my alley.
Yeah. So, if you could let your fans know one thing, if you could tell them anything in the world, what would it be?
Um, Sounds a little cheesy, but I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful. So I'll just say thank you. If you are been with us all this journey, I'll just say thank you for every listen, for every little moment of their time.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. There's really not much more that we can say or do to let them know, that we're so grateful for them joining us in this whole time, and even if they're new, like thank you for listening, and hopefully you stick around with us.
Yeah, I love that. And so, kind of wrapping up a little bit more, what can we expect to see from Twin Tribes in the near or distant future? Because I know that you do have a show coming up at the Novo, which Latinol HD3 is presenting. That's June 22nd. Are you looking forward to it?
Totally looking forward to it. And Joel, if I'm not mistaken, that is our last show of the US, correct?
Yeah, that's the last one that we have on the schedule this year. So if you're looking to catch us, that's your opportunity, because again, we're going everywhere this year. We got South America, we've got 2 tours separately in Europe, for 2 different stretches. We've got Mexico. So one of the final times, and I know also tickets are low. So if you're listening now out there, just make sure don't wait till the last minute. Don't DM me to get a guest list spot. um or Luis for that matter. But yeah, please come out. It's going to be a fantastic show. We've got some amazing bands on the lineup with Traders and Wingtips and Gallo, and DJ Electric Guy, a fantastic DJ too. So it's gonna be a fantastic night.
Beautiful. I know I'm looking forward to it. So, thank you guys so much. Once again, this has been an exclusive Latin Alt 88.5 HD3 interview with Twin Tribes. For those listening, I am Karissa Kelly. I have been the interviewer. And if you guys would like to close out, reintroduce yourselves.
Luis Navarro, guitarist and vocalist.
And I'm Joel Nino, bass, keys, and backing vocals, and we're Twin Tribes.
It has been an absolute dream talking with you guys. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Carissa. Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna stop recording.